Good morning. I want to talk to the artist in the house today again in the general sense. I refuse to use the term creatives. About the concept of resistance. Now, if you have read the book The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, you are already familiar with this concept and how he describes it. But even if you haven't, you have probably already experienced some version of this in your life. And the way that he basically lays it out, and I'm going to be a little reductive here in the interest of time, is that as you attempt to create, right, as you attempt to do the work that you are here to do, the universe reacts to that in the form of resistance, right? It doesn't want you to change. It doesn't want you to do that thing that you're trying to do. It will resist your actions, right? Your intentions. And the more that you do it, the more that it will, respond. And it may manifest in many different ways, usually by way of distraction. But also sometimes in some very self-defeating ways, like, this didn't happen, so I guess I'm not going to do that anymore kind of situation. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that because while that dynamic is very real, it's the way in which it happens that, I kind of maybe defer with Pressfield a little bit on this. Pressfield views that as an actual force, right? Like as an actual kind of spiritual cosmic force that is enacting against you as a person who is trying to do something good, right? Create, or what in this case. And I generally don't traffic in cosmic entities, right? I'm a bit of agnostic that way. But I think that there is a pretty obvious explanation as to why that occurs. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. So I believe that we are all connected. And I don't mean all people, I mean all things. And when we move and engage, all of those connections fire up and react, right? And whether that's positive or negative kind of depends on A, your perspective, and B, all of the things that you have done with your life up to that point, right? Because you didn't just make a decision and the decision is devoid of every other thing that's ever happened to you. That's not how life works. So when you decide, I'm going to write this book, or I'm going to become a better poet, or I'm going to put together this art show, or I'm going to write this album, when you sit down to do that, it would appear as if resistance is all firing up on you. All of a sudden, you start getting invitations to do things. All of a sudden, your phone starts blowing up. All of a sudden, somebody passes away. All of a sudden, this distractions, right? That's real. But the reason why that's real is because of the connections, right? It's because all of the things that you've done in your life up to this point, up to this decision, up to this work you're doing, you are carrying it with you, and it is all around you. And sometimes those connections are infinitesimally small, and sometimes they are in your face direct, right? And so anytime you attempt to change the status quo, you will experience resistance, because the way that the world around you is set up is not, it's set up to keep you in a place, whatever that place looks like. Maybe that place is a certain job, a certain relationship, a certain energy level, a certain creative level. And when you try to buck that, it responds to that. All of the things that you're connected to respond to that in some way. Some very small, maybe some take the day off, but some very directly, right? And so understand that that's a real thing. And that's the thing you have to kind of press through, right? Like, resistance is not an immovable force, right? It is not a mountain, right? It is a thing that you can press through with more work, with more intention, with more focus. And sometimes it doesn't take much. For most people, it probably doesn't take much, right? For most people, all you really have to do is just do a little bit extra and you're there and you're in it and you're good. Just understand that resistance doesn't stop. Resistance doesn't stop because you still live. And so as long as you're alive, resistance is present. How present, how powerful, how effective it is, that is all up to you. And some of that you've already laid out, and some of that you can control. So that's what I wanted to talk about. I experience resistance so much, it is frequently debilitating for me because so many of the things that I do are very grand. They involve other people. Like the minute you start adding other people to the mix, it's like, oh my God, now I'm dealing with their resistance, so just know that that's supposed to happen. Just because you've made a decision and it's the right decision and it's a good decision doesn't mean that you're not supposed to experience trial, tribulation, and resistance. That's the name of the game. That is living, right? That is it. That is why the process is always so much more important than the end result. There you go. Resistance. Have a good day.